Captain Yelen Ward stood at the edge of the cliff and looked down at the deep canyon below. The sun of Elta 7 was hot and red, casting long shadows over the cracked land. The wind blew dust across the rocks as his team waited behind him. We're here to investigate strange energy signals that had been recorded 2 nights ago. This place is quiet, said Corporal Lyra, checking her scanner. Too quiet. No animals. No wind in the lower canyon. Just silence. Yelen nodded. He had led many missions before, on many strange planets, but this one felt different. The silence was heavy, like something was waiting for them. We move, and he ordered. Stay close and stay sharp. The team climbed down into the canyon. The walls rose high around them, and the shadows made it feel like evening even though it was still noon. The scanners picked up traces of movement ahead, but it was not clear what can suddenly. Private Econ pointed. There, something moved. Yelen turned just in time to see a blur dash across a rock ledge. It was fast, too fast to be human. Before anyone could react, a tall figure dropped down in front of them, stood still for a moment, blocking their path. Her body was covered in dark armor that shimmered slightly in the light. Her face was hidden behind a helmet with a glowing blue visor. She held a curved blade in one hand. She looked like a warrior from another world. The team raised their weapons. But Yelen held up a hand. Wait, he said firmly. Don't shoot. We don't know her intent. The woman moved fast. In one blink, she was in front of Private Econ. With one smooth motion, she knocked the weapon from his hands and pushed him to the ground without hurting him. Then she spun toward Corporal Lyra, who fired a single shot. The shot missed, and before Lyra could reload, the alien woman kicked the weapon from her hands and stood still again. A one-move. Jalen stepped forward slowly, holding his hands up. We are not here to fight, he said calmly. We are explorers. We only want to understand. The woman tilted her head slightly as if confused by his voice. She moved again, fast and sharp. In a flash, she was in front of Yelen. Her blade touched his shoulder. A quick slice cut through his suit and skin. He felt the pain, but did not move. Esh looked at him closely through her visor. Her breathing slowed. Her hand held the blade steady against him, but did not strike again. You could have killed me, Yelen said quietly. But you didn't. Why? The woman stood still. Her hand began to tremble slightly. Then she pulled back the blade and took one step away. Suddenly, her visor flickered, and for a brief second, her eyes were visible. They were bright silver and full of emotion, anger, confusion, maybe even fear. Then she turned and leaped high into the canyon wall, disappearing into the shadows above. The silence returned. The team stood frozen for a moment. Then Corporal Lyra spoke. What just happened? Yelen touched the small cut on his shoulder. Blood ran slowly, but he ignored it. She was testing us, he said, or testing herself. That was not just an attack. That was something else. Private Econ looked shaken. I've never seen anything move like that. She could have taken us all down in seconds, but she didn't, said Yelen. She hesitated. Did you see it? She looked right into me like she was listening. Lyra checked her scanner again. No sign of her now. She's gone. No energy trace either. It's like she vanished. Yelen stared at the canyon wall where the woman had disappeared. He felt something strange inside. Not just fear or curiosity, but a question. A question that didn't have an answer yet. Download everything he said. Scans. Audio. Visuals. I want to review all of it. Back at base as the team climbed out of the canyon, the wind picked up again. The silence had broken, but only for a moment. Something was out there. Something washing far away on a high cliff. The alien woman stood alone. Her armor adjusted to the wind, sealing the exposed parts. She looked down at her hand, the one that had held the blade against the human captain. It was still trembling. She opened a channel in her helmet. A robotic voice spoke inside. Scout Carol? Report. Did you assess the human threat level? She was silent. Carol, your signal shows hesitation. Emotional deviation detected. Please confirm still. She said nothing. Then, in a soft voice, she replied. One of them looked at me and spoke. He said he did not want to fight. That is irrelevant, the voice answered. You were trained to ignore language-based deception. Proceed with primary directive. Eliminate and observe response. Carol closed the channel. She turned her gazed to the horizon, where the human base sat behind a line of mountains. She did not know why she had spared the captain. Her mind told her it was weakness, but her heart said it was something else, and for the first time in many years, she chose not to follow orders right away. Captain Yulin Ward sat alone in the mission tent, watching the same short video over and over again. It showed the moment the alien woman had stood in front of him, her blade at his shoulder. He paused the frame when her eyes flashed through the visor for that brief second. There was something in those silver eyes. Something he could not explain. The rest of the team had already moved on to other tasks. The attack had been listed as a hostile contact, and command wanted to increase security around the canyon. But Yulin could not stop thinking about her. She had the power to destroy them all. Yet she chose not to. His shoulder still hurt, but not badly. The cut was shallow. She had made it on purpose. It was a warning, not an attempt to kill. He tapped the screen and zoomed in on her face again. "Why did you stop?" he whispered outside the tent. The camp was busy. Soldiers and scientists worked to secure the area. Drones flew overhead. Scanner towers had been installed. Everyone thought another attack might come. But Yulin had a different feeling. He believed she would come back, but not to fight far across the desert. Carol crouched on a tall rock formation, hidden in the red shadows of the evening sun. Her armor blended with the stone, and her body was still as ice. She had been watching the humans for Archer Command Center had sent another message. She had ignored it. Something inside her had changed since the last encounter. She had replayed her own memory recording many times, just like the human captain. His voice echoed in her mind, "We are not here to fight." Carol closed her eyes. Her training told her those words meant nothing. Humans were clever and full of tricks. But his voice had not been sharp. It had been calm, honest. She could not explain why it had stopped. Her hand. She opened her eyes and looked through her scope. Again, the humans had built stronger defenses now. Tall fences, armed guards, energy shields. But they were not afraid. They were preparing. She could see it in how they moved, calm, steady. Focused. Then she saw him, the captain. He walked outside the tent, talking to no one, just looking out at the desert. He looked tired, but he was not scared. Carol tilted her head slightly. There was something different about him compared to the others. He had not shouted. He had not begged. He had simply stood in front of her and spoken. Suddenly her sensors picked up movement on the far side of the human camp. A small supply drone had crashed in the sand. 2 soldiers ran toward it. Carol narrowed her eyes. This was a chance to see more, not to kill. Just to watch move through the rocks like a shadow, silent and fast, within minutes. She was close to the crash site. The 2 soldiers were trying to lift the drone. Unaware they were being watched, Kroll landed behind a rock and watched carefully. One soldier cut open the drone's damage panel while the other scanned for parts. They spoke softly, joked a little, and worked together without Firth, and one of them saw her. His eyes widened in shock, and he reached for his weapon. But before he could raise it, Carol was standing in front of him. She looked into his face. He was young. His hand shook. "Please," he said. "We're just fixing the drone." Carol stared at him for a few long seconds. Then she reached out slowly and pressed a button on the drone. The screen lit up. She had helped them restart. As soldiers looked at each other, confused. Carol stepped back, then turned and vanished into the rocks before they could say another word. Later that night, the 2 soldiers reported what happened. Yulin listened carefully. "She helped you?" He escaped. The younger one nodded. "She could have taken us both down, but she didn't. She looked at me like she was curious." Yulin said nothing for a moment. Then he stood and looked out the window of the base. The desert was quiet again. She was still out there, watching. Thinking. Turned to Lyra. "I want to find her, sir." "You can't be serious," Lyra said. "She's dangerous. Command already said we should stay back and wait." Yulin shook his head. "She's not here to destroy us. Not yet. I think she's trying to understand us. And maybe we can understand her." To that night, Yulin walked out alone toward the canyon. He left his weapon behind. He carried only a small light and a recorder. Sat on a large flat rock near the same spot where he first saw her. The stars above Elder 7 were bright and strange. Purple clouds drifted across the sky. He pressed the recorder and spoke aloud. If you're listening, I know you're watching. You didn't kill me. You didn't kill my team. You helped my soldiers today. I don't know why, but I want to understand. I want to know who you are. He paused. I'm Yulin Ward, Captain Human, and I'm not your enemy. He placed the recorder on the rock and stood. I'll come back here again every night if I have to. I don't believe you're just a weapon. I believe there's more to you than that. Then he turned and walked back toward Camp Hunting in the dark cliffs. Carol listened through her scanner. Her fingers tightened slightly. Her mind was filled with thoughts she had never faced before. Emotion was not a part of her training, but now it was becoming stronger than logic. She looked at the stars and whispered his name, Yulin. The wind blew softly through the canyon as Captain Yulin Ward returned once again to the large flat rock. This was the third night he came alone. No weapons, no armor. Just a small bag with a light, a water flask, and a data recorder. Sat down slowly and placed the recorder in front of him. He looked up at the sky. The stars above HFY always gave him comfort. They reminded him how small humans really were in the universe. But tonight, his mind was not on stars. It was on her. Carol had not shown herself since the drone incident, but Yulin knew she was near. He could feel her watching. Her silence spoke louder than 1,000 words. Pressed the recorder again. I came back, like I said I would. I don't know if you trust me. Maybe you never will. But I believe in showing respect first. He paused for a moment. You don't have to speak. You don't have to come out. Just listen. That's all I ask. He turned off the recorder and set it beside him. Then he waited. Minutes passed. The wind moved the dust. The canyon remained quiet. Suddenly, he heard the soft sound of a footstep behind him. He did not turn. She was here. Carol stepped forward slowly. Her armor reflected the moonlight. Her face was hidden behind the helmet again. She stopped about 5 steps away from him. Yulin didn't speak yet. He wanted her to take the lead this time. Carol looked at the recorder, then back at him. Her breathing was steady. Her hand was close to her sidearm, but not reaching for it. You returned, she said at last. Her voice was calm, but filled with caution. I said I would. Yulin replied without turning. He kept his hands on his knees. I wanted to keep my word. Carol took a step closer. The air between them felt heavy. She studied his back, waiting for any sudden movement. There was none. Why are you doing this? She asked. You know I was sent to test your kind. You know I was ordered to study your defenses and report weaknesses. Yulin nodded. Yes, and you didn't follow through with that order. You hesitated. Twice. Carol said nothing. Turned his head slightly toward her. You had the perfect chance to destroy us, but you chose to help. That matters. You confuse me, she said quietly. Your people prepare for war. You build walls. You carry weapons. But you sit here without fear because I'm not afraid of what I can learn from you, Yulin answered. Maybe fear is not the only way to survive. Carol walked around him slowly until she stood in front of him. The moonlight touched the side of her helmet. She looked directly at him. You speak with emotion. It clouds your judgment. My kind is trained to remove it. Emotion leads to weakness. Yulin smiled softly. I disagree. Emotion can also lead to peace. It can stop wars before they begin. It can create something new. Carol tilted her head. I was taught that peace is a pause between battles. That's a sad way to see life, Yulin said. I think peace is a choice. One that starts with seeing someone as more than a weapon. He stood slowly now, face to face with her. You're not just a soldier. I saw your eyes that day. You felt something. You stopped because something inside you told you this wasn't right. Carol stayed silent. Her hand moved to her helmet. After a long moment, she pressed a button and removed it. Her face was revealed in the moonlight. She had smooth silver skin with a soft glow. Her eyes were bright and sharp, but not cold. They held something deeper. She looked strong and beautiful in a natural, untouched way. No makeup, no fake charm. Just the truth of who she was. Jalen's breath caught for a moment, not from fear, but from awe. You're so beautiful, he said quietly. Carol Frazed's words hit her like a wave. She had faced guns, blades, and enemy warriors, but nothing had ever struck her heart like those simple words. Her training had no defense for this. Her body stood still. Her thoughts raced. But a fool. No one in her life had called her that. Not her teachers, not her commanders, Not even her Sci-Fi, she began, but Stoppage stepped back. Her hands trembled again. Her mind warned her. Emotion was dangerous. It could cloud judgment. It could lead to failure. But she didn't want to run. Jalen stepped closer. Carefully, I don't say it to trick you. I say it because it's true. You don't have to believe it now. Just don't forget it. Carol looked down, then slowly lifted her gaze to meet his eyes. I don't understand. Human, she said. You are weak in body, yet strong in will. You fight with weapons, yet win with words. I did not know what to make of you then. Let's keep talking, Yelen said. Let's figure it out together. Suddenly, a red light blinked on Carol's wrist. A signal from her command. She turned her wrist and saw the message. A second warrior scout had been dispatched. She was being replaced. Her emotional delay had been noticed. Her mission was over. Carol's face hardened again. They're sending someone else, she said. Someone who won't hesitate like I did. Yelen looked serious now. Then we have to stop it. Together, Carol looked at him one last time. I will return tomorrow night. Do not come with weapons. I never do, Yelen replied without another word. Carol stepped back into the shadows and vanished. Yelen picked up the recorder. His heart still racing. Words had reached her. They were slow, but they were working. He looked up at the stars and whispered, tomorrow. Carol sat inside a quiet cave deep in the rocky hills of HFY. Her armor lay beside her, dark and silent. For the first time in years, she felt cold even without damage. A small fire crackled near her feet. She had never built a fire before. She had only seen it in data records about primitive survival methods. But now, the warmth comforted her. Her silver eyes stared into the flames. The words from Yelen kept repeating in her mind. His voice, his calmness, his choice to face her without fear. And then the sentence that froze her mind completely. Are so beautiful. She had heard many things in her life. Orders, commands, battle reports, strategy. But no one had spoken to her like that. Not with care. Not with Truther. AI system blinked softly on her wrist device. It showed red warnings, emotional delay, mental deviation, suspension of mission protocol. Her rank had not been removed yet, but she was under review. The command center had sent a new scout. Carol knew the replacement was likely stronger, faster, and fully loyal to the warrior code. If she stayed silent, the next one would finish the mission. The humans would be attacked without warning. But she didn't want that. Not anymore. Resh stood and looked at her reflection in a piece of broken metal. Her face was soft, not like the battle mask she wore in front of others. Her eyes showed questions now, not orders. She saw the glitch in her heart, and for the first time, she didn't want to fix it. She wanted to understand it. Back at the human base, Yelen sat at his table inside the command tent. He looked at a small map of the region, tracking every place Carol might be hiding. But he had no real plan to find her. He didn't want to force her out. He wanted her to come by her own choice. Lyra walked in and placed a report in front of him. Command wants an update, she said. They know you've been sneaking out every night. Yelen sighed. Let them know I'm still gathering information. That's not a lie. You're getting too close to her, Lyra said. She's still an alien scout. You saw what she can do. One wrong word, and she'll slice you in half. She could have done that days ago, Yelen replied. But she didn't. That means something. Lyra sat down. Her voice lowered. You're risking everything. She's not like us. She comes from a world of war. You think one sentence can change that? Maybe not one, Yelen said, but maybe a few more. Can that night, Yelen returned to the same flat rock. The wind was colder. The air felt heavier. He lit a small lamp and waited. He had brought 2 food packs, one for himself, one in case she come. Minutes passed. Then he heard it again, a soft sound behind him. Carol stepped into the moonlight. Her armor was back on, but her helmet was off. Her eyes looked tired, but not from battle. From thinking. Jalen offered her the extra food pack without speaking. She looked at it, then slowly sat down across from him. I've never eaten human food before, she said, then today's. First, Yelen smiled. She opened the pack and studied it like a tool. Then she took a small bite. Her face showed surprise. This is not efficient, but it is pleasant. Yelen laughed quietly. That's kind of our way. Not always efficient, but we try to enjoy the little things. They sat in silence for a while. Then Carol looked at the stars above them. I remember the first time I looked at your sky. It felt wrong. Too many colors, too open, on my world. The sky is always gray. Thick clouds, cold winds. We were raised to ignore beauty, to avoid comfort. Strength is all that matters, but you didn't ignore the stars. Yulin said. No, she replied. I noticed them. I noticed you too. That's the problem. It's not a problem, Yulin said gently. It's the beginning of something else. Carol looked at him. Her voice became quiet. There's something inside me. I don't know what to call it. It's like I'm no longer following only my code. I hear your words. I feel things I was trained to silence. My heart doesn't obey like it used to. You're not broken, Yulin said. You're waking up. Her fingers tightened around the food pack. But if I don't complete my mission, I become a failure. My people will send another scout. One who feels nothing. I know, Yulin replied. But maybe there's still time. You said you wanted to understand. Let's start with this. Why did you help my soldiers that day? Carol paused for a long moment. Then she spoke slowly. I don't know. I saw fear in their eyes. I saw weakness. But I also saw trust. Even when they were afraid, they didn't try to kill me. That made me hesitate. I thought, if they can show mercy, why can't I? Yulin leaned forward. You've already changed. That means you can choose a new path. Carol looked away. It's not that simple. The second scout will arrive soon. My people are watching. If I stand with you, I stand against them. They won't forgive that. I'm not asking you to betray your kind, Yulin said. I'm asking you to protect something more important. Choice, peace. A chance for something better. The fire between them crackled soft. Carol looked at him once more. If I return tomorrow, it means I've made a decision. Yulin nodded. Then I'll be here, waiting. Carol stood up and walked back into the darkness. Her steps were slow, like someone carrying a heavy weight inside her chest. Her heart beat in a strange rhythm. The glitch was not going away. It was growing, and maybe that was what she truly feared, not destruction, but the discovery of who she really was. The sky over Elter 7 turned dark as clouds rolled in from the north. Wind swept across the red desert, carrying dust through the canyons. In the human base, the air was tense. Soldiers moved faster. Sensors scanned wider. Everyone felt something was coming. Captain Yulin Ward stood in the command room, watching the monitors. His eyes followed every signal, every movement. But in his mind, he waited for just 1%. Carol had said she would return if she made a decision. That was yesterday. Now it was almost night again. Lyra walked in holding a new report. Sir, command has intercepted something, she said. Unknown ship entered the upper atmosphere 2 hours ago. Fast. No response to calls. Yulin took the report and read it quickly. His heart sank. That's the second scout, he said. You knew this would happen, Lyra said. We need to prepare now. This one won't hesitate. Yulin looked out the window. He saw the edge of the canyon where he had spoken with Carol night after night. I have to find her before the new one does. You're not going alone again, Lyra said quickly. You could be walking into a trap. I trust her, Yulin replied. She's not the enemy anymore. Lyra didn't argue. She just handed him a communicator. At least take this. If something happens, we'll come for you. Yulin nodded. He left the base quietly and moved toward the canyon, his steps fast but careful. His heart beat faster with every turn in the path far above the planet. A dark silver ship hovered just beyond the cloud line. Inside it, Scout Talon stood in front of the screen showing Yulin's base. He was tall, covered in full armor, and his face remained hidden behind a thick helmet. His voice was sharp and cold. Target location confirmed. Human resistance level is low. Engagement begins at dawn. Behind him, a communication drone floated. Scout Carol has failed to report, the drone said. She shows signs of emotional corruption. Her mission is considered compromised. Talon didn't respond. He already knew. He had trained with Carol once, long ago. He respected her skill, but not her choice to delay orders had allowed. A motion to interrupt duty. That made her weak. Checked his blade, powered his armor, and prepared for Traker L stood at the edge of the canyon. Her eyes locked on the human base in the distance. She knew what was coming. Talon would not show mercy. His mission would be fast and complete. She touched the blade at her side but didn't draw it. Instead, she closed her eyes and listened to the wind. Her heart was not calm. It beat harder. Then usual footsteps approached from behind. She turned quickly, ready to defend. But then she saw him. Yulin stepped into the open without fear. His eyes searched her face. "You came," he said. "I had to," Carol replied. "The second scout has arrived. His name is Talon. He will begin his mission soon. Can we stop him?" Yulin asked. "Only if we stand together," she said. "But you must understand. Fighting him means I break all ties with my people. There will be no way back." Yulin stepped closer. "You don't need to go back. You're not the same person anymore. You've changed." Carol looked at him quietly. "There is no honor in betraying your own kind. There is more honor in protecting the innocent," Yulin said. "You saved us. You're already different from them." Carol turned her eyes to the sky. A red flash appeared far above. The ship was lowering. Talon was coming. She looked back at Yulin. "If I go to him, maybe I can reason with him. By some time you said he wouldn't listen," Yulin replied. "He won't," she said. "But I have to try anyway." "Not alone," Yulin said. "I'll come with you." Carol gave him a long look. Then she nodded. "Then we face this together." In the rocky valley near the landing zone, Talon stepped out of his ship. Dust rose around him. His armor glowed faintly with power. He walked forward like a machine, his movements perfect and controlled. Ledcroll and Yulin reached the edge of the valley. Carol signaled Yulin to stay behind a large rock. Then she stepped out alone and faced Talon. Turned to look at her. His helmet showed no emotion. "You have failed your duty," he said. "I made a new choice," she replied. "There's another way to deal with this species." "There is no other way," Talon said. "You are corrupted. You have 3 seconds to return to your post or be marked as enemy." Carol took a deep breath. "I won't return. I will defend them, even if I have to fight you." Talon paused. Then he activated his blade. It hummed with sharp blue light. "Then you leave me no choice." Carol drew her blade. Her stance was calm but firm. She had trained beside him once. She knew his every move. But she also knew that he wouldn't hold back. The clash of blades struck with sparks. Dust flew. Each move was fast and exact. But Carol wasn't the same warrior anymore. She wasn't fighting for orders. She was fighting for something real. Jalen watched from the rock, holding his communicator. He could call for backup, but he didn't. He trusted her. Carol used a feint to knock Talon back. He stumbled for a second. "You lost your strength," he said. "You let emotions slow you." "No," she replied. "They made me stronger." She charged again and knocked his blade aside. With one final strike, she disarmed him. Talon fell to one knee. Carol pointed her blade at his chest but didn't finish the fight. "I don't want to destroy you," she said, "but I won't let you harm them." Talon looked up. "You're no longer one of us." "I never truly was." She saged lowered the blade and stepped back. Talon stood slowly. For the first time, his voice was unsure. "What will you do?" Now Carol looked at Yulin, who stepped out to join her. "We'll protect this world," she said. Together Talon didn't speak. He walked back toward his ship. The battle was over, but the war was only beginning. Carol turned to Yulin. "I made my choice. There is no going back now." Yulin nodded. "We'll face what comes." Side by side, the stars above began to shine again through the fading clouds. The sun rose over the desert of HFY, painting the sky with deep orange and gold. The silence of morning was broken by the low hum of energy shields coming online. The human base was now fully alert. Soldiers moved into position. Drones flew in careful patterns. Weapons were ready. Captain Yulin Ward stood on the command platform with Lyra beside him. He looked out across the wide plain beyond the base. His eyes stayed focused on the sky. He knew this peace would not last long. Carol stood on the upper wall of the base. Her armor had been repaired, but her helmet stayed off. Her silver eyes studied every movement. She was no longer an outsider. She was a defender. No. Lyra approached her, still unsure how to speak without tension. But today, she tried. "Thank you for coming back," Lyra said. "We needed help, and you chose to stand with us." Carol nodded. "I did not expect to make this choice, but I could not walk away from it." "Not anymore. They won't stop with one scout," Lyra said. "You know that, right?" "Yes," Carol replied. "Now they will come in full force, not just a test. This will be war." An alert beeped loudly inside the control room. Yulin turned toward the screen. Multiple signals approaching. 5 ships, large, high energy. They're heading for this location. The base entered full defense mode. Turrets Activated, shields grew stronger. But everyone knew the odds were not good. The alien fleet had arrived in space. 5 large warships of Carol's people moved quickly toward the surface. Their designs were smooth, sharp, and deadly. Each ship carried dozens of warriors trained for speed and destruction inside the lead ship. The command AI delivered the update. Scout Carol has turned against protocol. Scout Talon has returned without success. Resistance has been confirmed. Mission has changed to full assault. Rows of armored warriors prepared for battle. No emotion, no hesitation, only orders. First ship broke through the clouds. Fire streaked across the sky. Human soldiers pointed weapons. Turrets locked on. Target. The battle had begun. Carol activated her comms. They are coming from the East Ridge. First wave will land in 60 seconds. Yulin replied from the command tent. Do we have any chance to stop them? Carol's voice was steady. If we fight smart, we might survive the first wave. But we need to show them something unexpected. Something they don't understand. Yulin looked at her through the screen. What's that hope? She said the alien warriors landed with sharp precision. They moved like shadows, fast and silent. Their weapons cut through walls and shields. But the humans fought back, not just with strength, but with teamwork. Carol led the front line. She moved between soldiers, guiding them, showing them how to fight smarter, not harder. Her blade met the enemies again and again, but she never fought to kill. She fought to protect. Yulin stayed at the command tent, giving orders, helping the defense line shift with each attack. He stayed in contact with Carol, and their voices gave each other strength. Explosions shook the ground. Energy blasts lit the sky. But the humans did not fall back. They held their ground with courage. An alien warrior charged toward a group of injured humans. Carol jumped in and blocked the strike. She pushed the enemy back and stood in front of the injured. Enemy Pausada looked at her, confused. You fight for them now, he said. Why? They are weak. Carol didn't answer with weapons. She answered with words. They are not weak. They feel. They care. And they protect each other. That is not weakness. That is power. You will never understand. The warrior stepped back, his hand lowered. He looked around and saw human soldiers helping each other, carrying the injured, protecting one another even under fire. A strange look passed over his face. For the first time, he hesitated. Other alien warriors saw Carol leading humans. They saw her standing between them and danger. Some began to question. A few slowed down. The confusion spread. Carol called into her communicator. Yulin, they're starting to hesitate. They don't understand why I fight beside you. Use this. Show them more. Yulin turned to the main broadcast channel. He sent out a live message. On all human and alien frequencies, this is Captain Yulin Ward. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to beg. We are here to live in peace, and we will defend that peace. Together. He looked into the camera. One of yours stands with us, not because we forced her, because she saw something worth protecting. If you can see that too, then stop fighting. You have a choice. The message echoed across the battlefield. For a moment, the firing stopped. Some alien soldiers looked at each other. They had never been told they had a choice. They had never heard words used like that. In Carol stood tall, her blade lowered. She looked at the warriors across from her. You can choose something else. Just like I did. One by one, some of them backed away. Others stood still. A few even dropped their weapons. Battle didn't end at once. Some still fought. But the change had begun. Carol looked toward the sky. The ships were not firing. They were waiting, watching. Maybe, just maybe, they were listening. 2 hours later, the battlefield grew quiet. Smoke still rose, but the sky was clearing. The main alien ships remained in the air, but they had not attacked again. Inside the command tent, Yulin sat with Lyra and Carol. The base had taken damage, but it still. We sent a message today, Yulin said. Not just with weapons, but with words. Carol nodded. Her armor was scratched, her energy low, but her voice was calm. You changed the way they saw you. Maybe the way they saw themselves. To Lyra looked at Carol. What happens next? Carol looked at the stars. They'll decide if they want more war or something new. Yulin placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Carol smiled softly. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon. Felt like a person. The sky above HFY 7 was peaceful now. No ships in attack formation. No blasts in the air. The battlefield had grown quiet for the first time in days. The people in the human base took a breath without fear. The danger had not fully passed. But something had changed. Kroll stood outside the base wall, looking toward the horizon. Her silver eyes scanned the hills and clouds. She could feel the weight of silence. It was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence of waiting, watching, deciding. Bend her. Captain Yulin Ward walked over. He stood beside her without speaking for a moment. Then he asked softly, "Do you think they'll come back to fight again?" Carol shook her head slowly. "Not yet. They are confused. My people are trained for war, not choice. Now, they saw something different. They don't know what to do." Next, Yulin looked up at the sky. "We sent the message. Now we wait for their answer." 3 days passage repair crews worked day and night. Soldiers helped each other. Engineers rebuilt broken systems. Medics treated the injured. But what surprised everyone most was how some of the enemy soldiers had stayed. They had dropped their weapons and asked to speak. They were not prisoners. They were seekers, confused, lost, but no longer enemies. Scarl met with them daily. She taught them how to speak freely, how to think in new ways. Some of them listened carefully. Others stayed quiet, but no one attacked. That was progress. Lyra observed one of these meetings from a distance. She turned to Yulin and whispered, "She's not just a fighter. She's a bridge." Yulin smiled a little. "She's building something we never thought possible." On the 7th day, a message arrived from the main alien fleet. It was sent on open frequency. Everyone gathered in the main command room to hear it. Carol stood in front. Her back straight. Message began with a calm voice. "This is High Commander Vale of the Northern Sky Fleet. We have observed the events on Elter 7. The actions of Scout Carol have broken protocol, but they have also shown unexpected results." Yulin and Lyra exchanged looks. The room stayed quiet. Voice continued, "We have chosen not to attack again. We have recalled to warships. The remaining ships will stay in orbit for observation. A decision will be made soon. Until then, no more violence will be ordered." Carol nodded slowly. She turned to the others. "This is the best we could have hoped for." A pause. Time to breathe. Time to talk. Yulin stepped forward. "Then let's use it. Let's show them there's a better way." Over the next weeks, the base changed. Soldiers and engineers built new buildings, not for war, but for peace. A communication hub was created. Translators and diplomats arrived. A council was formed with humans and former enemy soldiers sitting at the same table. Carol became a voice for both sides. She spoke not as a warrior, but as someone who had lived in both worlds. Her calm voice carried weight. Some still didn't trust her. That was normal. Change takes time. But slowly, hearts began to shift. Children from nearby human camps came to the base. They played beside machines and tents for the first time. Laughter replaced alarms. Lyra took the lead in creating learning programs. She taught alien language to human soldiers and human customs to alien scouts. It became a shared place of growth. When Carol joined one of the classes, she struggled with some human words, but when she learned how to say thank you with the right tone, the room smelled. Jalen watched all of it with quiet pride. He still wore his uniform, still carried his rank, but now he walked with less armor and more hope. On evening, Carol stood alone at the same cliff where she had once looked at the stars with anger. Now, her heart was quieter, but she still had questions. Shailen joined her again. "No orders, no strategy, just presence. You seem far away." He said, "I am thinking," she replied, "about what comes next for me. For all of us, you've done more than anyone thought possible." He said, "You gave us a chance. You changed everything." Carol turned to him. Her voice was softer than usual. "I was made to destroy, trained to obey. But the first time you told me I was beautiful, something inside me stopped. I didn't know what that meant. Now I do. It meant I was more than a tool. It meant I was seen." Yulin looked into her eyes. "You were always more. You just needed someone to remind you." Carol didn't reply for a while. Then she said, "I want to stay. Not just here on this base. I want to help rebuild something better. Maybe that is my new purpose." "You don't have to decide today," Yulin said. "But if you stay, You won't do it alone, she gave him a small nod together. They watched the sky fade into starsmans later. A formal agreement was signed between Human Command and representatives of Carol's people. It was not yet a peace treaty, but it was a beginning. A shared path. Carol sat beside Yelena and Lyra as it was signed. She didn't wear armor anymore. She wore a simple uniform, not as a soldier, as a guide. News of Elder 7 spread to other colonies. Other commanders began asking how they did it. The story of a dangerous alien who became a symbol of peace reached far beyond their planet. Some said it was impossible. Others said it was a miracle, but those who had lived through it knew the truth it had started with, where it had changed through. Trust in it had turned toward peace with one simple human truth, a moment of kindness, a few honest words, and the belief that even the most dangerous person could choose a different path. Carol once carried anger like armor. Now, she carried hope, and the world would never be the same again.